The night smelled of money and wine. Inside Cross and Coma, one of New York's most luxurious restaurants, every table gleamed beneath golden chandeliers. Crystal glasses sang with laughter, and waiters moved like shadows. But for Eva Dawson, it was just another shift, another night of fake smiles and aching feet. Table 14 was the last one of the evening. Nathaniel Cross. The Nathaniel Cross. Billionaire investor. Tech god. The kind of man who could buy the entire block without blinking. He sat alone, scrolling through his phone as if the world were beneath him. Eva served him in silence. Steak, rare. Macallan 30, neat. Chocolate soufflé, untouched. He didn't thank her. He didn't even look at her. He just existed, and everyone else revolved around him. When she brought the bill, he flicked his pen across it without glancing. She waited, hoping for a nod, a word, anything human. None came. He simply rose, buttoned his jacket, and walked out, his cologne lingering like arrogance in the air. Eva reached for the check. Her eyes fell on the total, $3,012. And then, the tip. $10. Her stomach dropped. 10. Not 10%. Not a mistake. A flat, deliberate $10 bill resting there like an insult dressed as charity. She felt her face heat up. She'd been on her feet for 12 hours. Her rent was due. Her father's medical bills were stacked like a fortress around her. But that wasn't what hurt. It was the message, "You're not worth more than this." "Hey," murmured another waitress passing by. "He's gone, sweetheart. Let it go." But Eva couldn't. Something inside her cracked. Her hands trembled as she picked up the 10. Then the manager's voice cut through the air. "Everyone stay put," he barked. "Table 12 just reported a missing Rolex." Heads turned. The manager's sharp eyes scanned the floor. "Eva," he said slowly, "you were serving that section, weren't you?" Her mouth went dry. "Yeah, but—" "Security," he called. "Pull the camera feed." A hush fell over the staff. The security guard returned a minute later, frowning. "Footage is fuzzy, but she's the last one near the table." The words hit like a hammer. Eva's heart stopped. "That's ridiculous. I didn't take anything." But the manager's face was already stone. "Until we know otherwise, you're done for the night. Hand over your badge." Her cheeks burned as her co-workers avoided her eyes. She tore off her apron, grabbed her bag, and stumbled out into the freezing rain. The humiliation burned deeper than the cold. The city glared with wet neon lights, the streets slick and empty. She clutched that stupid $10 bill, crumpling it in her palm. Her mind screamed at the manager, at the cameras, at Nathaniel Cross. Then she saw him, across the street, stepping into a black town car, calm and untouchable. Her heart pounded. Every rational thought told her to walk away, to swallow the pain like she always did. But something inside refused. She ran. "Sir!" she shouted, splashing through puddles. "Hey, sir!" He turned, eyebrows raised. The driver paused, holding the door open. Eva stood there, drenched and shaking, her hair plastered to her face. She shoved the wet $10 bill toward him. "You forgot this!" Cross stared at her, expression unreadable. Then a thin, amused smile curled at his lips. "Keep it," he said coolly. "You need it more than I do." For a moment, the rain was silent. Her pulse thundered. Then she whispered, voice trembling with anger, and something else, something ancient and buried. "My father once saved your life, and you just tipped his daughter $10. Cross froze mid-step, his face draining of color. He turned slowly, eyes wide. "What did you just say?" Rain kept falling like it wanted to drown the city. Nathaniel Cross stood motionless, his hand still on the car door, staring at Eva as if she'd spoken a forbidden name. His voice was low, careful. "What did you say?" Eva swallowed hard, rain dripping down her face. "You heard me. My father, David Dawson. He pulled you out of that crash on Hudson Bridge 20 years ago. Something flickered in Cross's eyes. Shock, confusion, maybe guilt, but it vanished almost as quickly. His tone hardened. You should go home, Miss Dawson. I'm not done, she said, stepping closer. He broke his leg dragging you out of that car. You promised to help him. You disappeared. Cross's jaw tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Eva laughed bitterly. I know enough. My father still walks with a limp because of you. Before he could answer, his driver, a stocky man with a Bluetooth earpiece, stepped between them. Mr. Cross, let's go. You don't need this. Eva clenched her fists. Oh, yeah, walk away again. That's what you do best. Cross hesitated for half a second, then ducked into the car. The door slammed, and the black sedan disappeared into the night, taillights fading into the rain. Eva stood there, shaking, soaked to the bone, adrenaline crashing. What had she just done? Yelled at a billionaire on the street? Mentioned her father's name like it was some weapon? She turned and saw the restaurant's manager standing under the awning, arms crossed, eyes filled with disgust. Unbelievable, he muttered. You're not just fired, you're banned. What? You humiliated a client, our most valuable client. He jabbed a finger toward the street. And you bring up some crazy story about saving his life. You've lost your damn mind. That's not a story, she shouted, her voice cracking. It's the truth. Get off the property before I call the cops. Eva felt the world tilting under her feet. She had nothing. No job, no money, no proof of what she'd just said, and worst of all, she couldn't even call her dad to tell him. He was asleep in the hospital, breathing through machines. She walked to the bus stop, drenched, shivering, staring at the wrinkled $10 bill still in her hand. The ink had bled, the number fading. For a moment she wanted to tear it in half, but she couldn't. It wasn't just a tip anymore. It was a clue. When she got home, the apartment smelled like damp laundry and hospital disinfectant. Bills covered the kitchen table. A voicemail blinked red on her cheap phone. She pressed play. Ms. Dawson, this is St. Vincent Hospital. Your father's condition has worsened. We need you to call us immediately. Her knees nearly buckled. She sank into the nearest chair, hands pressed to her face. The night had already broken her once, but this shattered her completely. A sharp knock rattled the door. Eva jumped. She hesitated, then opened it to find a man in a dark raincoat standing in the hallway. His voice was clipped, professional. Miss Dawson? Who's asking? I work for Mr. Cross. Her pulse spiked. What does he want now? He handed her an envelope, sealed and embossed with the Cross and Cobalt crest. Mr. Cross would like you to come to his office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. He said he owes you a conversation. The man turned and walked away without another word. Eva stared at the envelope, heart pounding, torn between anger and fear. Inside she could feel something more than paper, something heavy. She slid a finger under the flap. A key card, a small note in sharp handwriting. Don't make assumptions until you know the whole story. N.C. Eva's breath caught. She whispered to herself, what the hell did I just step into? And for the first time that night, she wasn't sure who the villain really was. Morning came grey and heavy, like the sky hadn't slept either. Eva hadn't closed her eyes once. The envelope from Nathaniel Cross sat on the table beside a stack of unpaid bills. Her father's medical chart blinked on her laptop screen, filled with words she didn't understand, and numbers that scared her. She turned the keycard over in her hand for the 100th time. Don't make assumptions until you know the whole story. Yeah, right. Men like Cross didn't write notes. They issued commands. At 8:55 a.m., she stood outside the Cross & Comey headquarters, a black glass tower stabbing into the clouds. She felt small, like an intruder in someone else's world. Security guards in tailored suits scanned badges and barely looked at her. Inside, everything gleamed. Marble floors, silver elevators, the quiet hum of money at work. A woman at the reception desk smiled mechanically. "Name?" "Eva Dawson. Mr. Cross asked me to—" The receptionist didn't even blink. "Top floor, he's expecting you." The elevator doors closed with a soft hiss. As it climbed, Eva caught her reflection in the mirrored wall. Damp hair pulled back, thrift store coat, dark circles under her eyes. She didn't belong here, but maybe that was the point. When the doors opened, she stepped into silence. The office was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a wall of books, and a single desk that looked more like a sculpture than furniture. Nathaniel Cross stood by the window, hands in his pockets, staring at the skyline. He didn't turn when he spoke. "You're punctual. That's rare these days." "I almost didn't come," Eva said. "But you did." He faced her now, his expression unreadable. "Sit." "I'd rather stand." He gave a faint smile. "Stubbornness. You get that from your father." Her heart stumbled. "You remember him?" Cross nodded once. "More than I wish I did." "Then why didn't you ever reach out? You owed him everything." He exhaled slowly, walking behind his desk. "What I owed him I couldn't pay. Not in money. Not even in time. That's a convenient excuse." "Miss Dawson," he said, voice firm, "your father saved my life. I don't deny that. But there are things you don't know. Things that would change how you see him. How you see me." Eva crossed her arms. "Then explain. I've got nowhere else to be." He studied her for a long moment, then pressed a button on his desk. A large screen flickered to life, showing a grainy video. Emergency lights, twisted metal, snow falling on a bridge. A younger Cross stumbled from a wrecked car. Another man, her father, dragged him out. Her breath hitched. "That's him." "Yes." Cross's tone was heavy. "He pulled me out. He also—" He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Refused medical treatment until the paramedics saved someone else." "Someone else?" Cross nodded. "My business partner's wife. She didn't make it." Eva frowned. "And that's supposed to excuse you for getting us for 20 years?" Cross looked at her, and for the first time, there was no arrogance, only exhaustion. "No. But maybe it explains why I couldn't face what happened after." She stared at him, unsure whether to believe it. "You called me here for a confession?" He shook his head. "I called you here because your father's hospital called me this morning. His condition worsened. I've already taken care of the bill." Eva froze. "You... what?" "I have contacts at St. Vincent. He's under the best care now. Whether you like it or not, I owe him that." Anger, confusion, gratitude, they all tangled in her chest. "You think paying a hospital erases what you did?" "No," he said softly. "But it's a start." Eva turned toward the door, her voice shaking. "You don't get to rewrite the past, Mr. Cross." He called after her. "Miss Dawson, when you find the truth about that night, remember, your father wasn't the only one who saved a life." She stopped for just a moment, then walked out. And behind her, Nathaniel Cross collapsed into his chair, his hands trembling as if he'd just seen a ghost come back to collect a debt. The rain had stopped, but Eva's mind hadn't. She replayed every word Nathaniel Cross had said while she walked through the city, her sneakers slapping against the wet pavement. He paid the hospital bill. That sentence buzzed in her head like a mosquito she couldn't kill. By the time she reached St. Vincent Hospital, the sky was turning gold. Her father's room smelled of antiseptic and tired hope. Machines beeped softly beside him. David Dawson looked smaller than she remembered, bones wrapped in pale skin, a shadow of the man who used to carry her on his shoulders. "Hey, Dad," she whispered, taking his hand. His eyes opened, cloudy but warm. "Kiddo," he rasped, "you look like you haven't slept." "Neither have you." He smiled weakly. "They said someone covered my bill. Some mystery donor. You know anything about that?" Eva hesitated. "Yeah, It was him. The man from the bridge. Nathaniel Cross. Her father's fingers twitched. For a moment, fear flashed across his face. Cross? Yeah. He said he owed you. David swallowed hard, gaze distant. You stay away from that man. What? Why? His voice was barely a whisper. Some debts shouldn't be paid. Ava frowned. That doesn't even make sense. But before she could press him, the nurse entered, adjusting his IV. Her father's eyes fluttered closed, exhaustion dragging him under. Ava stepped into the hallway, still shaken. She pulled out her phone and froze. A new message blinked on the screen. From Nathaniel Cross. Come to the address below. Noon tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. Bring your father's signature if you can. Her gut twisted. His signature. For what? She debated deleting the text, but curiosity overpowered fear. The next day, she stood outside an unfamiliar building downtown. A private office, no company logo, only mirrored glass and a silent doorman who waved her in after one phone call. Inside, the air smelled like cedar and money. Nathaniel Cross sat at a long mahogany table, sleeves rolled up, no tie, looking less like a billionaire and more like a man who hadn't slept either. Miss Dawson, he said, rising. Thank you for coming. I didn't come for you. I came for answers. He gestured to a folder on the table. You'll get them. But first, I need a favor. Her eyes narrowed. What kind of favor? He opened the folder. Inside was a contract, a single-page document with her father's name typed neatly at the top. I want to transfer ownership of a trust fund, he said, to your father. He deserves it. It's compensation for the years he lost. Ava scanned the document. The numbers were obscene. Millions. You're kidding. This isn't generosity. It's guilt money. He didn't deny it. Maybe. But it's real. All I need is his signature. And what do you get? Cross met her eyes. Peace. Eva slammed the folder shut. No, he told me to stay away from you. I don't know what you did, but it scared him. Cross's calm cracked for the first time. His voice rose, sharp and raw. Your father's silence ruined 2 lives, Miss Dawson, his and mine. You think I wanted this? You used him, she snapped. And now you want to use me. Silence. The only sound was the hum of the city beyond the window. Finally, Cross spoke again, quieter this time. He saved me once, but I didn't save him. Maybe this is the only way left. Ava backed away from the table, heart pounding. If you think I'm signing anything, you're insane. She turned and walked toward the door. Cross didn't follow. He just called out, voice almost breaking. If you want the truth, Miss Dawson, you'll find it in your father's past, not mine. Ava stopped for half a second, then kept walking. And behind her, Nathaniel Cross stared at the unsigned papers, whispering to no one. She doesn't know what he did. The hospital felt colder that night. Ava sat by her father's bedside, staring at the glowing monitors. The steady beat of his heart should have been comforting, but it only made her feel how fragile everything was. Her father hadn't said a word about Cross since the last visit. He just stared out the window, the way people do when they're trying to forget something carved too deep to heal. Dad, she whispered, breaking the silence. He offered you a trust fund. A lot of money. His eyes flicked toward her. You didn't sign anything, did you? Of course not. But I want to know why you're so afraid of him. David sighed, rubbing his temples. Because, kiddo, there's no such thing as clean money in Nathaniel Cross's world. You saved his life, Eva pressed. Why act like he's the villain? He looked at her for a long time, then said quietly, because that night, I didn't just pull him out of the wreck. The words chilled her. What do you mean? He hesitated. You think it was an accident, Ava. That bridge crash wasn't just bad luck. Cross was drunk. He hit another car. There was a woman inside. Ava froze. The woman who died. David nodded slowly. His business partner's wife. She didn't stand a chance. She shook her head. No, he said you refused treatment for her. I did. Because she was already gone. He turned away, voice cracking. Cross begged me not to call the cops. He was hysterical, promising anything. I was just a construction worker, with a family and bills stacked to the ceiling. I thought, maybe if I helped him, I could finally give you and your mum a better life. Her throat tightened. You took a payoff? David's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't supposed to be like that. He said he'd come forward, that he'd take responsibility later. But the next morning, lawyers showed up. They made me sign a statement saying I was the one driving. You took the fall for him. He nodded, shame heavy in his voice. And by the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. The papers had my name, not his. If I'd gone to the police, I'd go to prison. So I stayed quiet. Ava could barely breathe. The air in the room felt poisonous. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. Because I didn't want you to grow up hating me. Or him. I wanted you to believe I did something good. Tears stung her eyes. You did do something good. You saved a man's life. But he destroyed yours. David's hand trembled as he reached for hers. No, honey. I destroyed my own. They sat in silence, the machines filling the space between them. Finally, Eva stood. You should rest. He nodded, eyes glassy. Ava, promise me something. What? Don't chase this. Don't dig any deeper. Nothing good will come out of it. She hesitated, swallowing hard. I can't promise that. His lips twitched into a faint, sad smile. You're just like your mother. When he drifted off to sleep, Ava slipped out into the corridor, her chest tight. The fluorescent lights buzzed above her. She leaned against the wall, fighting to breathe. She pulled out her phone and typed Cross's name into Google. The results exploded. Articles, interviews, glowing headlines. But one stood out. Hudson Bridge crash. No charges filed. Her hands shook as she opened it. There it was, her father's name listed as the driver. Cross was mentioned only as a passenger. At the bottom of the article was a grainy photo of the wreckage. She zoomed in, and her blood ran cold. In the corner of the frame, a man in a dark coat was staring straight into the camera lens. It was Nathaniel Cross, and even then, 20 years ago, he was smiling. The next morning, Eva woke to a pounding at her door. She pulled on a sweater and opened it to find Nathaniel Cross standing in the hallway, rain dripping from the shoulders of his black coat. His driver wasn't with him this time. He looked human, tired. She blinked. How the hell did you find where I live? He gave a small, tired smile. Money buys information, Miss Dawson. Can we talk? I don't think we have anything left to say. He glanced past her shoulder into the apartment, saw the peeling paint, the unpaid bills, the dying plant on the counter. Please. 5 minutes. Eva stepped aside reluctantly. Make it quick. Cross walked in, looking out of place in a space that barely fit the both of them. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets. Your father told you the truth, didn't he? Her jaw tightened. About the crash? About you letting him take the blame? Yeah, I know everything. Cross nodded slowly, guilt flickering in his eyes. I thought he'd never tell you. Never. He didn't want to. You forced it out of him by showing up again. He turned to her. I didn't come to defend myself. I came to make it right. Eva crossed her arms. You can't buy your way out of what you did. I'm not trying to buy anything. He pulled a folded document from his coat and laid it on the table. This isn't a trust fund. It's a confession. A full statement about what really happened that night. Signed by me. My lawyers don't know about it yet. She stared at the paper, unsure if it was real. Why would you do that now, after 20 years? Because your father's dying, and I'm tired of pretending I'm not a coward. Eva hesitated. You think the world's going to forgive you for coming clean? No, he said simply, but maybe your father will die knowing the truth matters to someone. Her throat tightened. He told me not to dig deeper. He was afraid of what would happen if this came out. Cross's expression darkened. He was afraid because I wasn't the only one who wanted it buried. What do you mean? He hesitated, glancing out the window as if the glass might be listening. The man whose wife died that night. Harold Reese. He was my partner back then. He's more powerful now than I ever was. If this confession surfaces, he'll do everything to silence it. Eva frowned. So you're saying this could get us both killed? I'm saying you need to be careful. If anything happens to me, that document will go public automatically. She looked down at the confession, the ink still fresh, his signature bold at the bottom. Her hands shook as she held it. You're really serious? Cross nodded. I've already sent a copy to a journalist I trust, but I need you to take the original. Keep it safe. Eva stared at him, torn between rage and something dangerously close to pity. You ruin my father's life and then make me your messenger boy? Unbelievable. Cross stepped closer, voice low. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Eva. I'm asking for help doing the one right thing I still can. She looked at him, at the exhaustion in his face, the lines carved deep by guilt. For a moment, she saw not the billionaire, but a man crushed under the weight of his own lies. Finally, she whispered, You really think this changes anything? His answer came soft but certain. It changes everything. Eva took the paper, folded it, and slipped it into her bag. When she looked back up, Cross was gone, leaving behind only rainwater on her floor and the uneasy feeling that she'd just become part of something she couldn't control. The confession burned a hole in Eva's purse. She couldn't stop thinking about it as she rode the bus to the hospital that afternoon. Every bump in the road made her heart jump, as if the truth might spill out onto the dirty floor at any second. When she arrived, 2 nurses were whispering near the front desk. Their voices dropped as soon as she approached. The older one forced a smile. You're David Dawson's daughter, right? Eva nodded cautiously. The nurse hesitated. You might want to check your phone, honey. Eva frowned, pulling it from her bag. The screen was full of notifications, texts, missed calls, and dozens of pings from social media. She tapped one, and her stomach dropped. #Waitress. Scandal was trending. A news site headline glared back at her. Billionaire Nathaniel Cross helps former waitress. Rumors of affair surface. Under it, a photo of her and Cross standing in her apartment doorway, the same night he'd shown up. The caption read, Late night meeting raises questions. She scrolled, numb. Comment after comment sliced through her. She's obviously blackmailing him. Gold digger. Guess she's cashing in on that rescue story. Her throat went dry. What the hell? A familiar voice startled her. Eva? She turned. Sarah, the co-worker who'd trained her at the restaurant, stood by the vending machine, holding a coffee cup. She looked uncomfortable. You've seen it? Sarah asked quietly. Eva nodded. Yeah. Someone was watching us. It's everywhere. Sarah bit her lip. Listen, I need to tell you something before you find out another way. What? The story. They paid me for it. I didn't think it'd blow up like this. I swear, Eva, I didn't mean... Eva felt the world tilt. You sold me out? They said it was harmless. Just gossip. I needed the money. My rent. Eva's hand trembled as she pointed at her. You turned my life into a circus for rent money? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. Get out of my face. Sarah hesitated, then backed away, mumbling apologies that didn't matter. Eva walked down the corridor, her head buzzing. Nurses stared. Even the janitor paused, whispering to another staffer. She pushed open her father's door. David lay awake, the TV flickering softly. The same headline glowed on the screen. His face twisted with confusion. Eva, what's going on? She switched off the TV. Nothing you need to worry about. They're saying you're with Cross, he murmured. That you're after his money. It's lies. All of it. He studied her, pain in his eyes. This is why I told you to stay away. That man doesn't bring light. He brings ruin. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. A text popped up. You don't know who you're dealing with. Drop it, or your father's story will end before his heart does. Ava's stomach turned cold. She looked at her dad. His breathing was shallow, his hand trembling against the blanket. She typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. She showed the message to her father. His eyes widened. Ava, listen to me. You walk away. Whatever Cross gave you, burn it. Please. She clenched her fists. No. I'm done letting men with money decide who gets to live in peace. David's voice broke. You'll get yourself killed. Ava stood, pacing the small room. Then let them come for me. Outside the window, flashing lights lit up the street, news vans pulling in. Reporters swarmed the hospital entrance, shouting her name. Cameras waited like wolves. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a call. The caller ID read, Nathaniel Cross. She answered, voice shaking. You started this? He sounded grim. No, but I can end it. Meet me tonight. Alone. Where? He hesitated. My penthouse. Don't tell anyone. Ava looked through the glass as cameras crowded the door below. She whispered, If I go, I may not come back. By the time night fell, the rain was back, so hard it blurred the city into streaks of light and glass. Ava stood outside Nathaniel Cross's building, clutching her umbrella like a shield. Paparazzi hovered across the street, snapping photos from under their raincoats. She could already imagine the headlines. Waitress sneaks into Billionaire's penthouse. The doorman opened the glass doors before she could knock. Miss Dawson, he said politely, as if she were expected. Mr. Cross is waiting for you. She stepped inside, her shoes squeaking against the marble floor. The elevator ride was long and silent. When the doors opened, she was greeted by a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline. Nathaniel Cross stood in the middle of the room, sleeves rolled up, no tie, staring at the storm like it was an opponent he couldn't beat. You came, he said quietly. You said you could end it. He gestured toward the sofa. Sit down, please. She didn't. Just tell me who's behind this. Who's sending those messages? Cross's jaw tightened. Reese, the man whose wife died that night. He controls several media outlets. He's using the scandal to bury me before I can confess. Ava folded her arms. And what's his problem with me? Your leverage. He thinks if he destroys you, I'll stay quiet. She laughed bitterly. Well, it's working. I can't even walk into a grocery store without being filmed. Cross turned away. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. My father's dying, my reputation's trashed, and now I'm on some psychopath's hit list because of you. He rubbed his eyes. I'm trying to make this right. How? By inviting me into your penthouse so the paparazzi can get a better angle. He didn't answer. Before Eva could unleash another word, a loud ding echoed through the apartment. The elevator again. Cross frowned. I didn't call for anyone. The doors slid open, revealing a familiar face. Sarah, her former co-worker, clutching an expensive handbag and looking wildly out of place. Ava's stomach dropped. What are you doing here? Sarah's eyes darted between them. I came to apologize. I shouldn't have sold your story. But someone offered me a lot of money, and now they want more. Cross stepped forward. Who's they? Sarah's hands shook. A man called me. Said if I didn't get something from Ava, something important, he'd ruin me too. Ava felt her chest tighten. He wants the confession. Cross turned sharply to her. You told someone you had it? No, but maybe he found out. Maybe he's been watching me. Sarah's voice cracked. He said there's a deadline, midnight, or he releases proof that your father lied about the crash. Cross froze. He can't have that proof. There is no... But he stopped mid-sentence. His expression changed, a shadow crossing his face. Ava caught it instantly. "You're hiding something," she said. Cross shook his head. "Not now." "Yes, now!" she shouted. "What else did you bury, Nathaniel?" He slammed a fist against the wall, startling both women. "You think this is easy? Every day I wake up wondering when it'll all explode." Sarah backed toward the elevator, terrified. "I shouldn't have come." "Wait, Sarah," Eva called, but the doors closed before she could stop her. Silence filled the penthouse, thick as smoke. Cross turned to Eva, his voice hoarse. "You need to leave town. Tonight. Take your father and disappear. Reese won't stop until he destroys everyone connected to me." Ava shook her head. "You think I'm running now? No. I'm done hiding." Lightning flashed across the skyline, and in that brief glow, she saw the truth in his face. Fear. Not for himself, but for her. And for the first time, Ava realized this wasn't just about guilt or money anymore. Someone out there wanted them both silenced. For good. Ava didn't sleep that night. She sat by the hospital window, watching the city lights flicker in the rain, her mind spinning with fear and anger. Reese. The man Nathaniel claimed was behind everything. She didn't know if she could trust that story. Cross had lied before. But if it was true, it meant danger wasn't a metaphor anymore. Her father was dozing, his breathing shallow. The rhythmic beep of the monitor was the only sound in the room. She reached for his hand, gripping it gently. "Dad," she whispered, "I need to know everything. All of it." His eyes fluttered open. "Ava, who is Harold Reese?" The color drained from his face. "How do you know that name?" "Nathaniel told me." David's eyes darted toward the door, as if someone might be listening. He shouldn't have. Why? He said Reese's wife died in that crash. David swallowed hard, his throat working. "That's true. But what he didn't tell you is why she was in Nathaniel's car." Eva frowned. "What are you talking about?" "She wasn't supposed to be there," he said quietly. "She was having an affair with Nathaniel." Ava blinked, stunned. "You're lying." He shook his head slowly. "I wish I were. I found out that night. They were fighting on the bridge. I stopped to help when I saw the wreck. She was already gone when I got to them." Eva sat back, the room spinning. "So you covered for a drunk driver and an affair? It wasn't that simple." He coughed, the machines beeping faster. "Reese found out later. He didn't go to the police because it would have destroyed his company. But he never forgave Nathaniel. He swore he'd ruin him someday." Eva pressed her palms to her face. "Jesus, Dad! This is insane." David gripped her wrist, eyes fierce despite his frailty. "You have to understand. None of this was supposed to reach you. Reese, he's dangerous. He owns people. He owns the press, the cops, even hospitals. That's why I told you to stay quiet." "Quiet?" she said, voice breaking. "You lied to protect him. You let our lives fall apart so a billionaire could keep his secrets." Tears filled his eyes. "I did it to protect you. If I'd told the truth, we both would have been buried." She stood, pacing the room. "You think we're not buried now? The whole world thinks I'm his mistress." The door opened suddenly. A nurse stepped in, startled by the tension. "Everything okay in here?" Eva forced a smile. "Yeah, just talking." The nurse hesitated, then nodded and left. The moment the door clicked shut, David spoke again, his voice a whisper. "There's something else. In the bottom drawer of my locker at home. There's a box. Inside it's the original police report from that night. My copy. The one I was supposed to destroy." Her heart pounded. "Why keep it?" "Because someday I knew the truth would come knocking." He coughed again, weaker this time. "If something happens to me, You take it to someone who can use it. Don't trust Cross. Don't trust Reese. Promise me. Dad, stop. Promise me. She swallowed the lump in her throat. I promise. His hand loosened in hers, the strength leaving his body. Good girl, he murmured. Just like your mum. The monitor beeped steadily, but his eyes drifted closed again. Ava sat there frozen, heart breaking, mind racing. A faint buzz came from her phone. Another message. No number this time, just words. Your father kept things that don't belong to him. People will come for them. Be ready. Her blood turned to ice. She looked at her father's sleeping face, then at the door, half expecting someone to walk in. And for the first time, Ava realized she wasn't fighting for justice anymore. She was fighting to stay alive. The next morning was too quiet. So quiet it made Ava's skin crawl. The rain had stopped, but grey clouds hung low over the city, like they were waiting for something terrible to happen. She barely slept. Her father's words kept echoing in her head. Don't trust Cross. Don't trust Reese. By noon, she made a decision. She wasn't going to sit around and wait for another text or another threat. She was going straight to the source. Cross's penthouse loomed above the skyline, its mirrored windows reflecting the storm that was still brewing inside her. The security guard at the lobby tried to stop her, but she flashed the keycard he'd given her days ago. It still worked. When she reached his door, she didn't knock. She shoved it open. Nathaniel Cross was sitting at the grand piano, playing softly, a tune that sounded too delicate for a man with so much blood on his hands. He looked up, startled. Ava. She marched across the room and threw a folder onto the piano. It burst open. Photocopies of the confession, the police report her father had kept hidden. You want to tell me which version is the truth this time? Cross froze, eyes darting to the papers. Where did you get that? My father kept everything, every lie, every document your lawyers made him sign. Her voice cracked. And he told me what really happened. About Reese. About the affair. Nathaniel's face drained of color. He stood, running a hand through his hair. You shouldn't have gone digging. Too late. My life's already a tabloid headline, thanks to you. He stepped closer, desperate. You don't understand. That woman, Reese's wife, her death wasn't just a tragedy. It was leverage. Reese has been using it to control me ever since. If that report goes public, he'll destroy everyone tied to it, including your father. Eva's laugh was sharp, bitter. My father's dying because of you, Nathaniel. You already destroyed him. Cross's voice rose. I never wanted this. You chose this, she shot back. You chose to let an innocent man take the blame while you hid behind your billions. And now you want me to clean up your mess? He slammed his fist on the piano, the sound echoing through the penthouse. You think I haven't paid for it? I've been living with her face in my nightmares for 20 years. Eva took a step back, startled by the fury in his eyes. Then do something about it. He pointed to the confession on the floor. That's what this is, my attempt to make it right. Too little, too late, she said coldly. They stood there, breathing hard, staring at each other across the gulf of guilt and anger. Finally, Nathaniel's voice softened. Eva. Your father wasn't the only one who covered for me that night. Her stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Reese was there too, he said quietly. He showed up after the crash. He made the calls. He paid the cops to bury the report. It wasn't mercy, it was blackmail. He wanted me under his thumb forever. Ava felt sick. So all this time, you've been his puppet? Yes. And now he's using you to finish me off. The words hung heavy in the air. Then Nathaniel did something she didn't expect. He knelt down and gathered the papers from the floor, his voice breaking. Please, Ava. Let me fix this before it's too late. Don't hand those documents to anyone. If Reese gets them first, he'll erase every trace of your father's name, including him. Ava hesitated. Her pulse raced. How do I know this isn't another lie? He looked up at her, eyes raw and honest. Because this time, I have nothing left to lose. And for the first time, she wasn't sure if she was standing across from a monster or a man finally trying to save them both. The world ended on a Tuesday morning, or at least that's how it felt when Ava woke up and saw the news. Billionaire Nathaniel Cross admits to decades-old fatal crash. The headline screamed from every screen. TV, phone, even the little monitor in the hospital lobby. The confession he'd sworn wasn't ready yet was everywhere. Her phone vibrated non-stop with texts and calls, reporters, strangers, even Sarah. But the one message that froze her blood came from an unknown number. He beat us to it. Now watch the cleanup begin. Eva turned off the phone and stared blankly at the news broadcast on the wall. Nathaniel Cross stood at a podium, pale but composed, reading a statement in front of a sea of cameras. 20 years ago, he said, voice trembling, I caused an accident that took a woman's life. Another man, David Dawson, was blamed because of my fear and my silence. Today, I'm owning the truth. Flashes exploded from the crowd. Reporters shouted questions. Ava's chest ached as she whispered, You idiot! What did you do? A nurse hurried past, eyes wide. He just tanked his own company. Cross & Co. stock dropped 50% in an hour. Ava sat heavily on the waiting room bench. He had done it. He'd actually confessed. But instead of relief, a cold dread crept up her spine. This wasn't redemption. This was suicide. By noon, the internet was a firestorm. Half the world called him brave. The other half wanted his head. And somehow, Eva was dragged into it all. Waitress connected to Billionaire's confession. Was she the reason he came clean? Who is Eva Dawson? She closed her eyes and wished she could disappear. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was him. Nathaniel, she answered, voice shaking. He exhaled sharply on the other end. I didn't want you to find out like that. You went public. You said Reese would kill us if you did. I had no choice, he said quietly. Reese was planning to leak something worse. He had video footage from that night. If I told the truth first, he'd lose control of the story. You think this makes you a hero? She snapped. You've just painted a target on yourself, and on me. I can protect you, he said. Come to the penthouse. Please. Ava's laugh was bitter. You've done enough protecting. She hung up. Across the hall, her father's doctor appeared, face grim. Miss Dawson, your dad's condition is worsening. His heart can't take this kind of stress. Her heart sank. Can I see him? Make it quick. She entered the room quietly. Her father was awake, eyes glued to the small TV showing Cross's confession. Eva, he whispered. He finally did it. Yeah, she said softly. And now he's ruined both our lives. David's lips quivered into a faint smile. Maybe that's the price of truth. She sat beside him, tears threatening to fall. He said Reese's people would come after us. I don't know what to do. Her father reached for her hand. Do nothing. Let the world burn if it must. You survived worse. A loud noise echoed from the hallway, something metallic, like a crash. Nurses shouted. Then the lights flickered. Eva jumped up. What was that? The doctor ran past the door, panic in his voice. Security breach. Someone just broke into the West Wing. Her phone buzzed again, a single message appearing on screen. We warned you. He spoke. Now you'll pay. Eva's blood turned cold. She looked at her father, frail and trembling. Dad, she whispered, I think they're here. And as the hospital alarms blared, she realized Nathaniel's confession hadn't ended the war. It had started it. Chaos ripped through the hospital. Alarms blared. Nurses ran. Security guards barked orders that no one seemed to understand. Ava pressed herself against her father's door, listening to the shouting down the hall. "Lock the east wing!" someone yelled. "Get the patients to safety!" She peeked through the small glass window. 2 men in dark suits were striding toward the nurses' station. No badges, no name tags, just cold eyes and matching earpieces. They looked more like private security than hospital staff. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. Should have stayed quiet. Eva's heart pounded. She turned to her father. "Dad, we have to move." He looked weak, his voice faint. "Ava, you can't carry me. I'm not leaving you." She grabbed the IV stand and started to unplug the machines. He gripped her wrist. "Ava, stop. If they want me, they'll get me either way. You run." She shook her head, tears stinging. "I won't lose you too." Footsteps echoed closer. She glanced toward the window and froze. The men were right outside, scanning room numbers. Then suddenly a voice called from the far end of the hall. "Hey, you can't be here." A security guard appeared, blocking their path. It gave her just enough time. She helped her father onto the wheelchair and pushed him toward the emergency exit. Her arms burned with effort. They reached the stairwell just as the first gunshot cracked. The sound was muffled, but unmistakable. Screams followed. Eva bit back a sob and kept moving. By the time they reached the parking lot, the rain had started again, heavy and relentless. She helped her father into the passenger seat of her beat-up Honda and started the engine. "Where are we going?" he asked weakly. "Somewhere safe," she said. "Anywhere that isn't here." They drove through the storm in silence. Every car behind them felt like a shadow, every light like a threat. When they finally reached the outskirts of the city, Ava pulled into a gas station. She needed to think, to breathe. She checked her phone again and almost dropped it. Her face filled the screen. Eva Dawson, wanted for questioning in hospital shooting. The article showed blurry security footage of her pushing her father in the wheelchair. The headline twisted the truth, calling her the woman at the center of the cross confession scandal. "No," she whispered. "No, this isn't real." David coughed beside her. "They're framing you." She scrolled through the article. It claimed she'd escaped custody after suspicious activity tied to Nathaniel Cross's confession. There was even a statement from Reese's company offering a reward for information. Her blood ran cold. "They're making me the scapegoat." Her father leaned back, pale. "It's Reese. He's cleaning house." Eva gripped the steering wheel. "Then I'll make him choke on it." She looked at the rearview mirror. Headlights approached, slow, deliberate. A black SUV. Her phone rang. No caller ID, she answered. "What do you want?" A deep, calm voice replied, "Miss Dawson, it's over. Turn yourself in." "Who is this?" "Someone who can make this all disappear, if you cooperate." She laughed bitterly. "Yeah, sure, and end up like everyone else who crossed you." Silence. Then the voice said softly, "Your father's running out of time. Do you really want him to die on the run?" Her throat tightened. She looked at her father, his breathing shallow, his eyes half open. "I'm done running," she whispered into the phone. "Good," the voice said. "Then come home." The call ended. The SUV's headlights flooded the car. Her father reached for her hand. "Ava, please." She took a deep breath, shifted the car into gear, and muttered, "Not tonight." The tires screamed against the wet asphalt as she sped into the darkness, straight toward the storm she could no longer escape. The night bled into dawn before Eva finally stopped driving. The rain had faded to mist, but the world still felt drowned. She pulled off the highway into a quiet, rural town. No cameras, no headlines, no one who knew her name. Her father had fallen asleep in the passenger seat, his breathing uneven, his face ghostly pale. She parked behind an abandoned diner and covered him with her jacket. For a long time, she just sat there, staring at the steering wheel. The news had turned her into a criminal, her life into a lie. She couldn't call the police. She couldn't go home. There was only one person left who might still help her, and she wasn't sure she could trust him. Nathaniel Cross. Her phone, cracked and half dead, buzzed once. A new text. "Meet me where it all began. Hudson Bridge, 8 p.m. The message had no name, but she knew exactly who sent it. By the time the sun began to set, she'd found a motel outside the city limits. She helped her father inside, tucked him into the bed, and kissed his forehead. "I'll be back," she whispered. His hand weakly caught hers. "Ava, don't go. The bridge is cursed for us." She forced a small smile. "I'm just going to end this, Dad." Then she left. Hudson Bridge was quieter than she remembered. The same bridge that had destroyed 3 lives now stretched out before her, ghostly under the orange streetlights. The river below reflected the glow like liquid fire. A black car was already parked at the center of the bridge. Nathaniel Cross leaned against the railing, the wind tearing at his coat. "You shouldn't have come," he said as she approached. "You texted me." He shook his head. "No, I didn't." Her stomach dropped. "Then who?" Before she could finish, another set of headlights appeared from the opposite end of the bridge, a sleek black SUV. Her pulse spiked. Reese stepped out first. He looked older than his photos, sharp suit, colder eyes. "Miss Dawson," he said pleasantly, "thank you for coming. Saves me the trouble of sending someone." Cross moved in front of her instinctively. "Reese, don't do this." "Don't what?" Reese said, his tone casual. "You went on TV and confessed to murder. You've made my company bleed. You dragged my wife's name through the mud again. This mess ends tonight." Eva's voice shook. "You set me up. You killed those people in the hospital, didn't you?" Reese smiled. "Collateral damage. You should have stayed out of it." Nathaniel stepped forward. "Take it out on me, not her." Reese's smile faded. "Oh, I intend to. But she's part of your story now." He turned to one of the men beside him. "End this." A gun was raised. Ava froze. But before the shot could ring out, Nathaniel grabbed her and pulled her behind a concrete barrier. The bullet shattered the railing inches from where she'd been standing. "Run!" he shouted. "I'm not leaving you. Go, damn it!" He turned, grabbed a loose piece of debris, and hurled it toward the shooter. It was enough to knock the man off balance. Nathaniel dashed forward, tackling him to the ground. Eva's heart hammered as she scrambled for her phone. No signal. Of course! Another shot fired. Sparks flew from the pavement. "Nathaniel!" she screamed. He staggered, gripping his shoulder. "Go!" But instead of running, she grabbed the fallen gun from the ground and pointed it at Reese. Her hands trembled. Reese raised his eyebrows. "You won't shoot me, Miss Dawson. You're your father's daughter, too good for that." Her finger tightened on the trigger. "You're right," she said, voice cold, "but I don't need to." Police sirens wailed in the distance. Finally, faint but real. Reese's smirk faltered. Eva lowered the gun. "Looks like you're out of time." And for the first time in 20 years, Hudson Bridge was about to deliver justice instead of tragedy. Red and blue lights sliced through the darkness. Police cars screeched to a stop on both ends of the bridge, officers shouting commands over blaring sirens. Ava dropped the gun instantly, raising her shaking hands in the air. "Don't shoot!" she yelled. "He's hurt!" 2 officers rushed forward. Weapons solo, weapons drawn. Nathaniel Cross was on his knees beside the broken railing, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Reese stood a few yards away, hands raised, face calm like a man who had already rehearsed his innocence. "Put down your weapon," a cop shouted at him. "I don't have one," Reese said smoothly. "I called this in. They were armed, both of them." Eva's stomach dropped. "That's a lie!" But the police weren't listening to her. They were staring at the billionaire, who looked like he'd stepped out of a boardroom, not a crime scene. Nathaniel groaned, blood soaking through his shirt. "Don't trust him." The officers pulled him to his feet, rough but cautious. One of them turned to Ava. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for possession of an illegal firearm and obstruction of justice." "What?" "No." Before she could protest, cold metal snapped around her wrists. Her heart pounded as she saw Reese watching, his smirk barely visible under the flashing lights. He leaned in just enough to whisper as she was being led past him. "You should have stayed out of men's games, Miss Dawson." Her body trembled with fury, but she said nothing. They shoved her into the back of a patrol car next to Nathaniel, who was barely conscious. His eyes fluttered open for a moment. "Eva, save your strength," she whispered. "We're not done." He gave a faint, broken smile. "That's what I'm afraid of." By the time the police station lights flickered overhead, it was nearly dawn. The air inside smelled like coffee, sweat, and paper. Reporters were already waiting outside, shouting questions through the glass. "Eva Dawson, did you conspire with Nathaniel Cross? Were you romantically involved? Did you shoot at Harold Reese?" She sat in an interrogation room, soaked in exhaustion, staring at her reflection in the metal table. Detective Hargrove entered, a tall woman with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She sat across from Eva, flipping through a thick file. "Quite the night you've had." Eva's voice was hoarse. "I didn't shoot anyone." Hargrove nodded slowly. "The gun wasn't registered to you. That's a point in your favor. But Mr. Reese's men claim you and Cross ambushed them." Eva laughed bitterly. "Reese's men? You mean the same ones who stormed the hospital?" The detective's pen froze. "You have proof of that?" Eva hesitated. "My father saw them before we escaped, but he's in critical condition now." "Then it's your word against theirs," Hargrove said flatly. Eva's chest tightened. "What about Cross? He'll tell you the truth." "He's in surgery," the detective replied, "and according to Reese's statement, he fired first." Eva slammed her hands on the table. "He's lying. Reese set us up." The detective sighed. Maybe not. But right now, the only thing that matters is the story the public believes. And they believe Reese." She stood and left, leaving Eva alone in the silence. For a long time, Eva stared at the mirrored glass, knowing someone was watching her from the other side. Then faintly, she saw movement, a figure in a suit passing by. Harold Reese. He stopped at the window just long enough to meet her eyes. He lifted a single finger to his lips. "Shh," and walked away. Her pulse hammered in her ears. He wasn't afraid of her, or the police, or the truth. He owned all of it. And that was the moment Eva realized. This wasn't a battle for justice anymore. It was a war for survival. And she'd just been thrown into the deep end alone. The first 48 hours blurred together. Bright lights, cold metal chairs, endless questions. By the time Eva was released, she felt hollow. There were no charges yet, just further investigation. In reality, she knew what that meant. Reese had pulled strings. Outside the precinct, the morning sun was blinding. Reporters shouted her name, cameras flashing like gunfire. "Eva, did Cross shoot Reese's men? Are you his accomplice? Did you plan the confession together?" She didn't answer. A police escort shoved the crowd back long enough for her to slip into a taxi. Her hands shook as she told the driver, "St. Vincent Hospital. Please hurry." When she arrived, her heart sank. Her father's room was empty. The bed stripped, the machines gone. She spun toward the nurse's station. "Where's David Dawson?" The nurse hesitated. He passed away early this morning. His heart stopped in his sleep." The world tilted. Her knees gave out. She grabbed the counter to keep from falling. No, he was getting better." "I'm sorry," the nurse said softly. He didn't suffer. But Eva barely heard her. Everything inside her went silent. All the noise, the lies, the danger. It just stopped. Later, she sat outside the hospital on a cold metal bench, her father's old jacket around her shoulders. She couldn't cry anymore. She just stared at the traffic moving like nothing had changed. Then a man in a grey suit approached. Not a reporter this time. Too quiet, too careful. "Miss Dawson?" She looked up, exhausted. "If you're another lawyer, I'm done talking." He handed her a sealed envelope, heavy with embossed paper. "I'm not a lawyer. I'm from the office of Nathaniel Cross." Her chest tightened. "He's alive?" "He's recovering," the man said. "He asked me to give you this." He nodded once and left before she could ask more. Eva turned the envelope over in her hands. Her name was written in clean, deliberate strokes. Eva Dawson. Inside was a letter, written in Nathaniel's unmistakable handwriting. "Eva, if you're reading this, I'm either too weak to tell you in person or too cowardly to face you again. I don't know which, but I need you to understand what I've done. I sent the confession to the press, yes, but not to save myself. I did it to make sure Reese couldn't twist it first. He owns everything. The police, the media, the courts. My only weapon left was the truth. I also made arrangements. A trust in your father's name. The David Dawson Fund. It will pay medical debts for construction workers and their families. It's not forgiveness. It's acknowledgement. I'm sorry for every way I hurt you and him. I know you think I'm a monster. Maybe you're right. But monsters can try to build something good before they die. N.C." Her hands trembled as she read it again and again. The words blurred through her tears. When she finally looked up, the sun was breaking through the clouds. She opened the second page, one last line in smaller writing. "P.S. There's a safety deposit box at First National Bank. Key enclosed. You'll find proof Reese paid the cops that night. Use it or burn it. The choice is yours." At the bottom of the envelope was a small brass key, cold against her palm. Eva closed her fist around it. "You just couldn't stay out of trouble, could you?" she whispered. Her phone buzzed again, another unknown number. She didn't answer this time. Instead, she looked toward the skyline. Somewhere out there, Reese was already spinning a new lie. Somewhere else, Nathaniel Cross was bleeding for the truth. And she had the key to both their fates. For the first time, Eva felt something fierce stirring inside her. Not fear, not grief, but purpose. 3 days later, the city was still drowning in headlines. News anchors dissected every second of Nathaniel Cross's confession, every shadow of Eva's face caught on a security camera. Reese gave interviews, smooth and untouchable, painting himself as the betrayed partner who had tried to save his friend. But Eva didn't care about the news anymore. She had the key, and the key meant proof. She stood outside First National Bank, the letter from Cross folded in her pocket. Her hands were steady for the first time in weeks. Inside, the banker led her to a private vault room with quiet efficiency. "Box number 313, he said, sliding a small metal drawer from the wall. "Please take your time." When he left, Eva unlocked the box and lifted the lid. Inside was a small leather journal and a flash drive. Nothing else. She opened the journal. Nathaniel's handwriting filled every page, meeting notes, transactions, dates. But it was the final entry that froze her heart. "If you're reading this, Eva, you know now that Reese paid off the police, the judge, even the press. I have the recordings. He can't be allowed to bury it again. But if you expose him, he'll come for you. Choose wisely." Eva plugged the flash drive into the bank's security computer. A folder appeared, labeled simply Reese Records. Inside, audio files, dozens of them. She clicked the first one. Reese's voice came through, smooth and sharp as glass. "Make sure Dawson signs the statement. If he hesitates, remind him how much his wife's hospital bills cost. Cross doesn't need to know the details. He's too busy drowning in guilt." Eva's throat tightened. She clicked another. "If Cross ever talks, I'll bury him, and anyone he drags with him." That was enough. She yanked the drive out, clutching it like a weapon. Hours later, she was sitting in a hospital hallway again. Nathaniel had survived surgery, but barely. The nurse told her he'd lost a lot of blood. "He's conscious but weak," she said. Eva entered the room. Cross looked pale, his arm bandaged, his eyes hollow. When he saw her, he smiled faintly. "You found it." "I did," she said quietly. You were right about Reese. His voice cracked. Then use it. Not yet. Why not? Because I'm done being someone's pawn. This time, I'll decide when the truth comes out. Nathaniel studied her for a long moment. You sound like your father. Her eyes softened. He believed people could change. I want to believe that too. He exhaled slowly, eyes closing. Then maybe there's hope for me, after all. Suddenly, the monitor beside him beeped erratically. The nurse rushed in, shouting for help. Eva backed against the wall as a team of doctors filled the room. His heart's failing, someone yelled. Eva's body froze. No, please! The sound of the flatline filled the room like thunder. The nurse pressed a button, but it was too late. The monitor went silent again. This time, for good. Nathaniel Cross was gone. Eva stood there, numb, as the staff covered him with a white sheet. One of the doctors turned to her gently. I'm sorry. He went peacefully. She couldn't speak, couldn't cry. She just stared at the motionless form on the bed, the man who'd ruined her life, then tried to save it. Outside, the rain began again, tapping softly against the window. Eva pulled the flash drive from her pocket, gripping it tightly. I'll finish this, she whispered. I'll end what you started. As she walked out of the hospital, she didn't notice the black car parked across the street. Inside, a man lowered his phone and muttered, She's got the drive. The car's engine started, and somewhere deep inside Eva's grief, she felt the first stirrings of danger. Proof that Reese wasn't finished with her yet. The funeral was small, private, and strangely quiet for a man who once ruled half the city. No cameras, no reporters, no board members, just a handful of employees who still believed Nathaniel Cross had a soul left to save. Eva stood apart from the rest, black coat pulled tight against the wind. The casket gleamed darkly beneath grey skies. The pastor's voice droned in the distance, but she barely heard it. Her mind replayed every moment she'd spent with him, the lies, the arguments, the confessions. In the end, none of it mattered. He was gone. When the service ended, the mourners drifted away one by one. Eva stayed behind until she was the only one left. The wind carried the faint scent of rain, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to cry. You're late, a voice said softly behind her. Eva spun around. A woman stood there, mid-50s, dressed sharply but not extravagantly. She held a black umbrella and an envelope. Who are you? Eva asked, wiping her eyes, jumping her sword. Margaret Sloane. I was Mr. Cross's attorney for many years. Eva's stomach tightened. If you're here for money, I don't want it. The woman shook her head. This isn't about money. It's about what he left behind. She handed Eva the envelope. He called it a legacy clause. He instructed me to deliver it personally after his death. Eva hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper, typed and signed. To Eva Dawson, I'm leaving you the remains of the David Dawson Fund. It will be yours to oversee, to grow, or to destroy. Do with it what you think is right, and if you ever wonder whether I truly changed, look at what's inside the clinic safe. You'll find my last promise there. N.C. Eva frowned. Clinic safe? Sloane nodded. He purchased an old medical building downtown a month ago. Renovations just finished. It's to become a free community clinic in your father's name. Eva's throat tightened. He did that before he died? Yes. He called it penance. The attorney turned to leave but paused. There's one more thing. The board of Cross & Coastal Social Net is falling apart. Reese is trying to take full control, but the confession tarnished him too. He's bleeding money, and enemies are circling. Be careful. He'll want that flash drive back. Eva nodded slowly. Let him come. That night, she went to the clinic. The building was quiet, lights still flickering from new wiring. A brass plaque near the entrance read, The David Dawson Free Clinic. founded in gratitude by Nathaniel Cross. Inside, the air smelled of fresh paint and antiseptic. She found the office with the safe, a small steel door hidden behind a desk. Using the key that had come with the letter, she unlocked it. Inside was a velvet box. She opened it and gasped. A single $10 bill rested inside, perfectly preserved under glass. Beneath it, a note in Nathaniel's handwriting. "The same $10 I left on that table. You gave it back, and it brought me here. Keep it as a reminder that change starts small, and so does redemption." Ava pressed her fingers to her lips, tears burning her eyes. The memory of that rainy night flooded back. The insult, the rage, the moment everything began. She set the box on the desk and whispered, "You finally paid your debt, Nathaniel." Outside, thunder rolled softly in the distance, but she didn't flinch this time. She turned off the lights and locked the clinic door behind her. Across the street, in the reflection of the glass, a black SUV idled under the street lamp. Its headlights flicked on as she walked away. Reese wasn't finished, but neither was she. And this time, the truth was on her side. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows of the newly named David Dawson Free Clinic. For the first time in months, the city looked calm, like it hadn't just swallowed 2 men whole. But Eva knew peace was fragile and short-lived. She spent the day unpacking boxes, setting up the reception area, pretending she didn't notice the black SUV parked across the street. Every time she glanced up, it was still there, engine idling, windows tinted. Reese's men were patient. They wanted her to know she was being watched. By noon, a knock echoed through the empty hall. Eva froze, her hand brushing the small revolver Nathaniel's lawyer had given her just in case. She opened the door an inch. A man stood outside, grey hair, trench coat, weary eyes. "Detective Hargrove," he said, flashing his badge. "You remember me?" Eva nodded cautiously. "You're the one who interrogated me. I'm also the one who just got suspended for asking too many questions about Harold Reese." She opened the door wider. "Come in." Hargrove stepped inside, scanning the clinic. "Cross's people did good work. Shame he didn't live to see it." Eva's voice softened. "He saw enough." He nodded. "Listen, I didn't come here to reopen wounds. I came because someone inside the department leaked your address. Reese's lawyers filed a new claim, accusing you of theft and extortion." She exhaled sharply. "Of course he did." Hargrove leaned closer. "You've got something that scares him, don't you?" Eva hesitated, then pulled the flash drive from her pocket. "Everything you need to take him down." He stared at it. "Is this what I think it is? Audio recordings, bribes, payoffs, the whole story. Cross kept everything." The detective reached for it, but Eva pulled back. "Not yet. If I hand it over now, Reese will bury it before it hits a courtroom. I need leverage first." "You're playing a dangerous game, Miss Dawson." "I've been in one since the night I met him." They stood in silence. Then Hargrove nodded slowly. "There's a press conference tonight. Reese is announcing his new charity fund. Same time, same place Cross used for his confession. You drop this in the right hands there. It'll blow the roof off." Eva smirked. Poetic. That night, she arrived at the downtown plaza, blending into the crowd of journalists and donors. Reese stood on stage, immaculate as ever, talking about forgiveness, rebuilding trust, and honoring the late Nathaniel Cross. Her blood boiled. She waited until the speech hit its emotional peak. Then she moved. From the press pit, she handed a small envelope to a reporter she trusted. Inside, the flash drive, labeled "Play This Now." Moments later, the speakers crackled. Reese paused mid-sentence as a familiar voice filled the plaza. "Make sure Dawson signs the statement. If he hesitates, remind him about his wife's hospital bills." Gasps spread through the crowd. Then another clip. "If Cross ever talks, I'll bury him, and anyone he drags with him." Reese froze. The color drained from his face. Cameras swung toward him. Reporters shouted questions. Eva watched from the edge of the crowd, her heart racing. For once, the noise wasn't against her. It was justice roaring back. Police officers moved toward Reese as the recording continued. He raised his hands, trying to shout over the chaos. "This is fake! Doctored!" But it was too late. Ava stepped back, blending into the shadows. Hargrove caught her eye from across the square and gave a small nod. It was over, or so she thought. As she turned to leave, someone brushed past her, slipping a folded note into her coat pocket. She unfolded it under a street light. "You think this ends with him?" "Look deeper. Cross wasn't the only one who owed your father." Her pulse quickened, and in that moment, Ava realized that redemption was never simple. It only uncovered deeper sins waiting beneath the surface. The note wouldn't leave her mind. Cross wasn't the only one who owed your father. It looped through Eva's thoughts as she walked the quiet streets that night, the city still buzzing from Reese's downfall. His arrest had dominated every headline, every broadcast. For once, the world believed her. But victory didn't feel like freedom. It felt unfinished. Back at the clinic, she locked the doors and sat at Nathaniel's old desk. The note lay under the lamplight, edges damp from her fingers. Who else could it mean? Her father had been an ordinary man. No secrets, no enemies. Or so she thought. Then she remembered something he'd said years ago, before his heart failed him. Some debts don't end when the money runs out. Ava turned to the safe behind the desk. She'd already taken the velvet box from it days ago, but now she wondered if there was more. She felt along the edges. Then her fingers brushed something loose. A false panel. Behind it, a small envelope. Her father's handwriting. "Ava, if you ever find this, I guess I didn't get to tell you in person. You deserve the truth. Years before the accident, I worked on a private construction site, funded by Cross Industries. Yes, but the money came from someone else first. Senator Halford. He was laundering campaign funds through Cross's early projects. I signed documents I didn't understand back then. If the truth ever came out, all of them, Cross, Reese, Halford, would have fallen. Cross tried to shield me later, but Reese used it as leverage. That's why the crash was never just a crash. It was cleanup. I thought keeping quiet would protect you. I was wrong. Don't let my silence bury you too. Dad." Eva sat back, trembling. The letter slid from her hands. A U.S. senator. That was the missing piece. The reason so many people had died. The reason every thread led to someone more powerful. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. She answered, voice cold. "Who is this?" A low voice replied, calm and certain. "And you found it, didn't you? Who are you? You don't need to know my name, but I know yours, and I know you're holding something that could ruin a man who's running for president next year." Eva froze. "Halford," the voice chuckled softly. "Careful. Phones are fragile things. So are people. What do you want? Nothing from you. Yet. But if you value your father's name, burn that letter. Forget the senator. Walk away while you still can." She gripped the phone tighter. "You think threats scare me? I buried 2 billionaires. What's one politician?" "You don't understand," the voice said. "This isn't about money or guilt anymore. It's about power. And power doesn't die. It replaces itself." The line went dead. Eva stood in the quiet clinic, the weight of her father's letter pressing against her chest. For a moment, she wanted to destroy it, to end the cycle. But then she looked around at the clinic's walls. His name carved in brass, the lives it could almost save. And she knew she couldn't let another man hide behind lies. She picked up her phone again and called Detective Hargrove. "It's not over," she said when he answered. "Reese was just the beginning. There's someone bigger." The detective sighed. "How big?" "Senator Big." A long pause. Then, "You have proof?" "I do now." "Then keep it safe. If what you're saying is true, this goes higher than any of us." Eva looked out the window. The black SUV was gone, but she knew it would be back. Let them come, she said quietly. I'm not my father. I don't keep secrets anymore. And somewhere beyond the city skyline, the next storm was already gathering, one that could take down the whole system her father had unknowingly built. It was raining again, the kind of slow, heavy rain that turns cities into mirrors. Ava watched droplets slide down the glass walls of the David Dawson Free Clinic and tried to quiet the storm in her chest. 3 days had passed since she'd found her father's final letter. 3 days since that voice on the phone warned her to burn it. She hadn't. Instead, she'd scanned the letter, copied the recordings, and sent everything to Detective Hargrove. He called her once that morning, voice tense. You sure you want to do this? Once it's out, you can't take it back. I'm done taking things back, she said. Now, as thunder rolled above the city, she was waiting for his signal. The moment the files went public, the front door creaked open. Eva turned, expecting Hargrove, but it wasn't him. A man in a dark coat stood dripping rainwater onto the tile. His face was hidden under a hood. Clinic's closed, Eva said. The man smiled faintly. I'm not here for a checkup. Her pulse jumped. Who are you? He stepped closer. Let's just say I represent interests that prefer stability. You've stirred up a hornet's nest. Halford sent you. He didn't deny it. You're smart, Miss Dawson. Smart enough to know what happens to people who pick fights with the powerful. Eva reached for the small revolver under the desk. You here to kill me, or just threaten me? He stopped a few feet away. Neither. I'm here to offer a trade. You give me the originals, everything your father wrote, the recordings, the documents, and you walk away. We'll even fund this clinic for the rest of your life. Quietly. Comfortably. Ava stared at him, the offer almost tempting in its precision. A life of peace, paid for by silence. She shook her head. My father died for the truth. Nathaniel too. You can't buy that. The man sighed. Then I guess you've made your choice. He reached inside his coat. Ava raised the gun. Don't. For a tense second, neither moved. Then from outside, tires screeched. 2 police cruisers sliding to a stop in the rain. Floodlights cut through the mist. Drop it, a voice boomed. Hands where we can see them. The man froze. Detective Hargrove strode in, soaked and furious. You picked the wrong woman to scare. The agent smiled coldly. You just made a powerful enemy, Detective. Yeah, Hargrove said. Get in line. The officers cuffed the man and dragged him out. As the door slammed shut, Hargrove turned to Eva. It's done. The files are live. Every news outlet in the country's got them. Reese's statement, Cross's confession, your father's letter. It's all public record now. Halford's career is over. Eva exhaled shakily, setting the gun down. So that's it? Hargrove nodded. That's it. For now. You just changed the game. She looked around the empty clinic, the symbol of everything her father had lost and Nathaniel had tried to rebuild. He wanted redemption, she murmured. Maybe this is how he gets it. The detective smiled faintly. Maybe you just redeemed them both. Later that night, when the last reporter had left and the lights dimmed, Ava stepped outside. The storm had broken, leaving the air clean and quiet. The city glimmered with new light, uncertain, fragile, but honest. She walked to the edge of the street and looked up at the sky. It's done, Dad, she whispered. You can rest now. A faint breeze moved through the trees, gentle as a reply. In her pocket, the brass key, the one that had started everything, was still warm against her palm. She smiled sadly, then tossed it into the river. It vanished beneath the surface, carried away like a ghost finally free. For the first time in her life, Eva Dawson didn't feel like she was running from the truth. She was walking toward it, and the world was finally ready to listen. So, that's where our story ends. You're still here, right? If you've stayed all the way to this moment. Something in Eva's journey must have touched a quiet place in your heart. Her story wasn't just about a billionaire, or guilt, or revenge. It was about courage, truth, and healing. Life will hand us storms we never asked for. But like the Stoics taught, we can't control the wind, only how we set our sails. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Ava's pain became her path. Her losses became her strength. And maybe that's what we're meant to learn too, that every heartbreak is also an opening. Every ending a beginning. So wherever you are, whatever you're carrying, remember, you don't heal by forgetting. You heal by facing the truth and walking through it, just like she did. If her story moved you even a little, give this video a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. And subscribe so we can keep walking through more stories like this. Stories that remind us how broken hearts can still build something beautiful.